Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Houston Oasis. Just a reminder, if everyone could put their phones on vibrate. Whoa, we good? Yep, thanks. All right. Welcome, good morning. Everyone grab a seat. We are Houston Oasis, a secular community of compassion and reason. My name is Tim. I serve on the board of directors as your treasurer. To my right, you will see our core values. Take a second. Good? Okay, I want to point out one. Reality is known through reason. In the past couple of years, disinformation has been a bit of a problem if you are on the internet or following news sources. It's pretty easy to ask an expert who kind of works within these things if you want to follow their reason, if you don't have to work on your own. So I would recommend possibly doing that. Okay, today we have a community moment by Lou Cana to start us off after our musician. He will be speaking about awe and what inspires awe. After that, our main talk will be from Alenka Cardenas. She is a Wetland Outreach Coordinator at the Bayou City Waterkeepers. And our musician today is Joseph Crump. Joseph is a songwriter based in Houston. He's been playing guitar for over 30 years and writing songs for 25. He's also the vice president of the Houston Songwriters Association. Pretty cool. I'm not going to chew your ear off anymore. Let's go ahead and jump into two songs from Joseph.
Thanks so much. Always good to be back at Oasis. I really love playing here, so thank you for having me. I want to start with kind of a downer, and I'll play something that's a little more upbeat. But we had a good friend of mine a few months ago. We lost to depression, and so we did a memorial, and a lot of people missed it. So we're going to stream a virtual memorial from my house from 1 to 2 today. And so this song was kind of on my mind, and I'll probably play it during the stream, and I'm thinking, like, I need to play it. It's been a while since I played it, so this one is for Tanner Herndon. And one of the things I was really struck by when I was breaking the news to people is how many people said they've come really close. A lot of, it was mostly musicians I was calling, or they've made attempts. And so I guess, just a reminder to sort of keep an eye out, listen, and just be there for people and make it clear that it's not a burden if they need to reach out. Just an ear or something, So this one's called My Friend. You're the calm in every storm. Your smile, both mischievous and warm, and you were always there to lend a helping hand. Your pain, easy to misunderstand. Couldn't find a sweeter song. Oh, life can take its toll. We love you more than you might know. It's sad but true. You're not the only one. We'll learn from you. We'll take care of everyone. Tragedy can be the engine of reform. initiative is born. My friend, why did you have to go? My friend, you couldn't find a sweeter soul. Oh, when life can take its toll, we love you more than you know. You left us all with aching heart. Only time will heal and help us find a place to start. My friend, why did you have to go? My friend, you couldn't find a sweeter soul. Oh, and life can take its toll. We love you more than you might know. But there's hope, so I'll pick it up a little bit here. This is a Bill Withers song I like to play that you probably know. You know, just remind people, like, you know, it's okay to reach out, you know. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride. If I have faith, you need tomorrow. No one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just may have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just may have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. We all need somebody to lean on. Thank you.
Amazing. Still a good message. Who knew? We will now be hearing from Luke Cana, who will be giving a community moment on his thoughts on that inspire awe. You too can give a community moment if you reach out to speak@houstonoasis.org if you have an idea, if you cool book you read, or an idea you want to share with the community. All right, Luke, come on up.
fairly active with the programming committee.
Try again.
All right. Most of you know me. I'm fairly active with the programming committee. We're the folks that identify, vet, and schedule our main speakers, such as Alenka, who's on her way, she promises. We meet about once a month over Zoom, the members of the programming committee, to discuss leads that we have, et cetera. So if any of you know somebody who you think might have interest in being a speaker for Oasis, or if you would, please contact Jake or Verena or myself. You hear me now? Yes. Okay, let's see how this works. Well, I know what's on the next slide. During one of our prior meetings, the subject of awe, A-W-E, came up. That was actually Tim Sledge's idea. And we batted it around a little bit. And then when I got home, I thought, So, I want to talk to you about being awestruck. Now, I'll give you an example from my own life. Several years ago, I was out at the Grand Canyon. Gorgeous. I bet you a lot of you have been there. Yeah. But I knew what to expect. I had seen videos and pictures, so it was wonderful, but it wasn't a surprise. What I want to talk to you about is the situations where you see something that's awesome or awestruck, but you weren't expecting it. So, do-de-do-de-do. Okay. So the only thing I haven't told you is that the last thing that says, meaning the occurrence or object was a complete surprise. I'm fortunate enough to have several of those, but nothing compares to this. Not even close. I was on a catamaran with about 20 other people off the coast of Santa Barbara in California. The water was rough, so only one person got to use the head because he was in there all the time. So we got a few miles out, and I'll show you what absolutely floored me. You all know what that is? It's a blue whale, the largest creature that has ever lived. And I never expected to see one. Actually I had a Polaroid camera with me, one of the old ones, and I took a picture of it. But they're an incredible creature. You know, it was mostly on the surface, but it seemed to blot out the sun. So, that was my adventure. I have others, I'll tell you about them later. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Before we break for coffee and our main talk, I want to remind everybody, today we are doing potluck, BYOL, so you can order some food and have it brought in before, well before we need to eat. And also, we have released our 2024 annual survey. There's a QR code back there on the back table. There's a flyer. Just point your phone at that, and you'll be able to take that survey. That is not the survey. That is for giving money. But thank you. Yeah, I do. Jennifer is pointing that out. Also, there is a QR code. It's on the table. It's sitting on the table. I'll point it out over there during the coffee break. But speaking of, let's all break for coffee, and then we'll meet back for our main talk. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to read a couple of announcements since we have some time, for no reason. Upcoming events. You can always check our events by going to www.houstonoasis.org/events. Wednesday, January 29th, we will be doing Oasis Book Club at Cafe Express on West Gray from 7 to 9 p.m. There will be discussing The Book of Two Ways by Jodi Picoult. I hope I said that right. You can email or see Ginger, Ted, or email theodore@houstonoasis.org. Ted, is that still your? Okay. To be added to their emailing list. Our Northeast Houston monthly social will be at Backpew Brewing on Sorters McClellan Road in Porter, Texas on Sunday, February 2nd from 1 to 4. Northeast Harris County area, which there's a lot of people who obviously cannot make it down. That's good for them. Our board meeting, our monthly board meeting is on Wednesday, February 19th. Is that still? Third Wednesday of every month, basically. From 7 to 8:30, you can contact the board at houstonoasis.org if you would like to get a link to the Zoom meeting. Blues Night is going to be on Thursday, February 20th. The Mighty Orc will be playing at the Big Easy on Kirby from 8:15 to midnight. Hot blues for a hot city. And also, there's going to be an additional, Mighty Orc normally only plays there. Well, he doesn't only play there, but he will be playing at the Continental Club this Saturday at 9:30. So a chance for people who cannot make it out on the weekdays, head out over to the Continental Club. Next week, our main well, you know what? I'll save that for later. I want to go ahead and kick it off back over to Joseph for another song. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me. This is a song, a pretty new one. It's sort of about experiencing profound disappointment with an extremely large number of people at the same time. So you may guess the time span of when it was written, but it's also about like kind of wondering where you fit in with that, and maybe like how you're going to navigate those relationships. And it's called Where You Belong. Yesterday's always gone. The memory lingers on. You think you know right from wrong. You think you found the place where you belong. Look at you so confused. The world is upside down. And now that you're disabused, corruption wears the crown. And you thought you understood the darkness of the lane, and you didn't think you could lose all your faith in everyone today. And how do you reconcile the conflict in your heart? You try to maintain your smile. Your soul is torn apart. And you thought you understood the darkness and the light. And you didn't think you could lose all your faith in every
Okay, a couple more announcements. We're going to keep on doing announcements until y'all tell me to stop. Actually, I did want to remind people that we had board elections in January, and we had some board members drop off, Will, Judy, Pete, and we got new board members. If you have not heard this announcement before, Georgia Lippincott has taken Pete's spot, has joined us. She is going to be a great asset for our Kids Room program. And returning is Alexis Podeman, our previous board member and president. It's going to be great. It's good to have a full team. On February 9th, we will be doing a volunteer speed dating. It's weird sounding, but the idea is we're going to kind of explain what our committees are and what you, if you are interested in, would be doing on those committees. So the committees will be setting up tables here, somewhere in the room, and you can speak to the committee leads or the board members who will be out there and kind of get a good idea of what they're really there to do. The board and the volunteers do a lot of work, so it's important that we get help where we can and make Oasis a much better place. Okay. But for next Sunday, on February 2nd, our main speaker will be Andrea Murray. She will be presenting on how to spot skin cancer, very important. And lunch will be at Katz's Deli on Westheimer. And to be determined musician. I heard a door close, that's good. I have a couple of more things to announce. Let me just pull up upcoming events for Houston Oasis. We have books on sale. Instead of me carrying them around, I have a list out there. Anytime, head back there. If you want to look at the books, just contact me and I will either bring them with me or you can pay for them and I will bring them next time. I want to get a nice little library going of books from our speakers, any sort of good materials. If you have a recommendation, send them to board@ or tim@houstonoasis.org. Reading is fundamental, so kind of important. And it looks like we might be setting up. Joe, if you could hit us with another number.
I'm hoping to release this as a single in a month or two. It's called The Head and the Heart. As I lie awake in my bed, demons dancing round in my head, they won't go away. And they're taunting me, reminding me I'm such a fool. Colors fade, receding from view. I can see a world without you, it's completely gray. And I'm a stranger here, I wanna disappear into the night. I should have known better than to side with my head instead of my heart. It's a fool who ignores love and tries to dispose of that integral part. It's something I learned from you. I guess that's what time can do to the heart. An important question remains, and how can I relieve all this pain and this misery? 'Cause it's killing me, but I think I see how it could end. Tell her that I made a mistake mistake and hope that she'll forgive me and take me back in her arms. 'Cause it's the surest way to escape this pain, I do contend. I should have known better than decide with my head instead of my heart. 'Cause it's a fool who ignores love but tries to dispose of that integral pain. It's something I learned from you. I guess that's what time can do to the heart. It's something I learned from you. I guess that's what time can do. It's funny what time can do to the heart.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Joe. Now, I will present our main speaker, Alenka Cardenas. She will be speaking on the Wetland Watch and community advocacy. Please help me in welcoming Alenka to the stage.
Hello, my name is Alenka Cardenas, and I'm with Bayou City Waterkeeper. And today I'm going to be talking to you about some of the things we're doing involving community advocacy in our Wetland Watch program. Okay, cool. So by a show of hands, does anybody, have y'all heard of Bayou City Waterkeeper? No? Okay, cool. So we are an environmental advocacy organization focusing mostly on kind of blending science and law. A lot of the work we do is around infrastructure and sewage currently, and the preservation of wetlands. And we do this through organizing. We have a full legal team and a science team as well. Okay, cool. And we operate in the entire Lower Galveston Bay Watershed, so it includes all of these regions here. Okay, we'll go through. And yeah, I'll talk to you a little bit. So flooding has definitely impacted Houston in a lot of different ways. We've had over 5 major flooding events in the last 5 years, so it's been pretty difficult to manage, and in order to kind of mitigate some of this flooding and the amount of water, there's some kind of nature-based solutions that we can use to prevent some of this flooding. So, and one of the ways we can do this is through the preservation of wetland ecosystems. So wetland ecosystems are defined as a transition zone, which are in between a dry and fully aquatic climate. Normally, you'll see a variation in topography in this region, so kind of a change in elevation. So if you think of like a creek or a river or a bayou, you're always going from an area of a high to an area of low. That's one of the key indicators. There's some other key indicators as well. So if you're looking for what a wetland is, you're going to look for hydrology, which is the flow of water in and out of the area. Soil, so what type of soil is present in the area. And vegetation, so the type of vegetation can also be an indicator for whether or not the area you're in is or is not a wetland, if you're wondering if you perhaps like live near one or are in one. Some of the unique qualities that wetlands can provide. So filtering pollutants, a lot of plants are really, really great at not only filtering pollutants, but capturing some harsh chemicals as well as like heavy metals. So this can be a really good service whenever it's flooding and you're getting all types of floodwaters, right? So capturing carbon. Once again, a lot of the plants that are in aquatic wetland ecosystems, like riparian areas, are really great at capturing carbon and helping to reduce flood risk. So in order for a wetland to function at its full capacity for holding floodwaters, it needs to be about 50 to 100 acres. So that's kind of why we really advocate for the preservation and protection of large-scale versus small-scale wetlands. Okay, and this is a link to our Wetland Watch Hub, but if you're able to go, that would be great, but I'll go through it with you guys, so. So our story map. So we can talk a little bit about where our 5 critical wetland regions are located. These are 5 areas that we've identified as having large acreage of wetlands that are haven't been destroyed or altered in any way. And so this is great because preservation is a lot more effective and cheaper than having to kind of go back and make those changes like restoration, which is good, but it's easier to just keep what you have, especially if you have the large acreage. So let's see, I don't see where you can see this one here. That is good. Okay, so Lake Houston Flatwood Wetlands, kind of up here in this region. It's the immediate headwaters to Montrose in this area. So this wetland, this large wetland, is going to affect a lot of, its ability to retain water will affect downstream. So downstream is in the city, right? So this is really kind of an important one, especially for the ship channel and in this area as well. Greater Lake Creek, this is kind of near the woodlands. There's the Greater Katy Prairie and Trans-Brazos and Anahuac Coastal Prairie. Trans-Brazos is in this region, Anahuac Coastal Prairie is to the, but yeah. You keep going. Yeah, it's kind of a light picture. Okay. So yeah, I think I kind of talked about this. So these areas are really important just because they're so large, and these large tracts are really support functionality, so flood mitigation and diverse ecosystems. Downstream communities experience flooding, so they help prevent other communities that are downstream from flooding. Lake Houston is very critical for the ship channel specifically, really, so. Okay, cool. And it's also our main source of drinking water and for the city of Houston, so it's really important that that area is like making sure that it's preserved so that it can function for filtration as well, and you don't get sediment things in your water. It's good, so, okay. And then our Wetland Watch Hub, we have our story map. So it goes over some different things. You can learn more about wetlands, which one you live near, and it kind of goes into more detail on each of the specific wetland areas. This is like the introduction. It will give you a kind of a basic, more detailed like rundown on kind of what a wetland is, yeah. So yeah, this is our story map. Okay. Estuarine and tidal fringe wetlands. These are really important right now. I'll just talk about them a little bit, but so Galveston is the largest estuary in Texas. We have 2. There's one near Port Aransas as well. But yeah, it's a really important ecosystem. It serves as like you could think of it as like a nursery kind of for fish and other aquatic animals and invertebrates. And a lot of the plants that are in these estuaries or fringe areas, you'll see this like if you're driving to Galveston, like it kind of looks familiar. This is kind of what people think of when they think of a wetland. But it's not necessarily the only type. But yeah, they're really important for carbon capturing as well. They're really efficient for carbon capturing the plants that are in this ecosystem, like algae. Okay. So let's see. Yeah. So there's 5 different regions, and this one talks about all of them. So Houston Flatwood Wetlands has about 130,000 acres of untouched wetland areas, slow floodwaters, so a lot of controlled floodwaters, lots of channelization and like dams in that area. But yeah, it's really good for filtering sediment, so I think I talked about that. And it's been pretty impacted by development over the last 20 years, if you're familiar with that area. So this is an example. Lake Houston's a really good example that I like to use mostly because it's the headwaters for a lot of the city, and also it has probably, maybe Katy has had a lot too, the Katy Prairie, but it has had a lot of like rapid development, so it's easy to see like a before and after. So if you look, you can see this is 1986, Lake Houston, and then this is in 2020. So they pretty much developed this entire side, so yeah. There's still 60,000 acres intact in this specific region, so that's good. We can still advocate for the protection of what is still left to preserve. So here, we can keep going. Talk about our mapper. Yes, so the mapper is really fun if you get the chance. You should definitely try to use it. I'm going to go through like some slides. We'll talk about it a little bit, but it kind of looks like this. You can search any place, so you can search your address, and we'll do Sheldon Lake State Park as my example. You can zoom out, and it gives you some layers. So this is U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's National Wetland Index. So these are the different wetland areas that are identified through them. And it's on this mapper, and we have a couple other layers with different maps that we've pulled. So instead of having to go to all those maps, you could just go to ours and you'll see. So if you want to see if you live near a wetland, you can look and see which one's been identified. And in Sheldon Lake, these are the ones that are identified: freshwater emergent, freshwater forested shrub, freshwater pond, lake, and ravine. So one of the things that we're kind of having everyone's kind of having some challenges with right now is that there was a Supreme Court ruling, Sackett, which rolled back a lot of protections for wetlands. That Supreme Court ruling basically made it to where the definition of a wetland is always been something that has been like contested, or, yeah, I guess like you could say that. It has changed over time, depending on like, I don't know, it's just changed. And so one of the things that has happened with Sackett is that it has rolled back a lot of protection for wetlands. So instead of a wetland being considered, anything that qualifies hydrologically, aquatically, and through vegetation, it only really considers hydrological connection to a water body of the United States. So that pretty much it's not been good for areas like Lake Houston or Katy or anywhere that's more north that might not have a really immediate direct connection, but it's still a wetland, and it's still like freshwater emergent or shrub wetlands, so like forested wetland areas, like the Brazoria area has a lot of like the bottomland, so lots of like forested wetland areas are kind of at risk because of this, and it's hard to advocate for their protection because there's really no actual legal protection under the federal law, and we have no state law so to protect against that. So that makes it kind of difficult as well. Okay, this is our BCWK wetland. This is the ecological layer. It just kind of captures a little bit more of some wetlands that were identified through aerial imagery. FEMA flood hazard map. I have had several people use this one to, if they're about to move or something, I'll tell them they should look at the FEMA flood hazard map and see if they're moving into a flood zone, because it's pretty important to know, because these areas are prone to flooding. So, yeah, so if you live in the dark purple 1%, it's not great. You want to try to stay out of that area, that 100-year floodplain. You really aren't supposed to be building in that area. So, yeah, if you're living in that space, it's good to know. A lot of times you'll see developments kind of happen right on the cusp, where it's like on the cusp of a 500 and 100-year floodplain, and because of the development, you'll see more flooding, because it ends up turning that area into, it becomes more flood prone because of the development. Okay. So we have our Wetland Watch survey. So this is one of the tools that we've been using. So our organization uses public notices and other things like that to advocate for the protection of wetlands. So if someone, like a developer or the Port of Houston, anybody is proposing a project that is going to impact wetlands in any way, they have to submit a public notice to the Army Corps of Engineers. It's public, it's on a website, you'll see it. Not a lot of people know where to look. It's a giant long document, and they're pretty sneaky about like having their meetings and stuff, so it'll be like a day later or something like that. And so we try to stay on top of it and submit complaints when we can. And so their Wetland Watch survey just helps us to know when there are developments popping up in an area. And yeah, it requires some citizen science for that. So you just go to our survey and fill it out, and you can circle the area with a tool or type in the address, upload some photos, and then we're able to go in and through our maps and stuff, use that to kind of do a desktop analysis and determine if we're able to advocate for the protection and who we can talk to, like legally, to make sure that it's protected, if it is a wetland, and if we can find a hydrological connection. So, okay. So we do workshops and presentations. So if you wanted to do a presentation, you can submit there, and here, oh yeah. And then right now, one of the things we're working on is a focus group. So we are in Northeast Houston and Baytown doing a survey in collaboration with Stanford University on the perception of green stormwater infrastructure, which is things like permeable pavements. So basically the opposite of what channelization is. So when you think of all the concrete in the bayous, kind of the opposite of that. So a lot of the infrastructure that Houston has right now is considered like heavily gray infrastructure. That's kind of what we're using. So if anyone ever gets a chance to go out to Exploration Green, that's in Clear Lake. They have a really good example of what a good green stormwater infrastructure or GSI project could look like. Let's see. But yeah, so our Stanford survey, we're having about like 300 people participate in that, and they are going to be we're trying to gauge perception of green stormwater infrastructure in those areas, and on what scale people are the most receptive to green stormwater infrastructure. And so that's something that we are doing currently. Wetland walks, so I host wetland walks about 4 to 5 times a year, maybe more, maybe 6. I'll be having 2 this spring, but these wetland walks are really fun. They're basically we'll go through a wetland area depending on what watershed we select, and kind of go through and try to identify different wetland indicators to kind of better equip community members to know when they are in a wetland area, because that seems to be the biggest challenge, is people not really understanding when they are in a wetland area. And we'll talk about we'll have experts come and talk more specifically on wherever we're at. So like for Sheldon Lake, we had Andy Sipix attend, and he he was the main person that did all of the restoration efforts there and altered the topography to match what it looked like 200 years ago, using like old photos, and yeah. So it's pretty interesting. We'll get to talk with a bunch of experts. We did the Nash Prairie, which was also really fun, and learned a lot about some plants. So depending on where we go, we'll learn different things. Baytown Nature Center, we went there, talked about some of the issues related to the Brownwood community. And that is our founder, Dr. John Jacob. But yes, so if you're interested in attending a walk or a presentation, please reach out. My email's Alenka at BayouCityWaterkeeper.org. And if you have any questions now, I would be happy to take them. Yes? We have
That
one.
was my question.
We have a walk coming on March 22nd, and it will be in our calendar. So Bayou City Waterkeeper has like a running calendar, so if you go to that, all the dates will be in there. But I know that there is one March 22nd.
You used a term I'm not familiar with, water shelf. Could you define that?
Oh, watershed?
Yeah, shelf.
Oh, no, maybe I meant shed, yeah.
Oh.
Sorry. Oh, yeah, it's going to be on our website, so BayouCityWaterkeeper.org, and then it has like a calendar. I think it's on the first page. At the bottom, there's like a small calendar, and it'll show. But March 22nd, there's an event, and then if you, Jesse Jones is having an event on March 1st, and it's a Nature Fest, and it will be fun. There will be a lot of different organizations. Oh, we'll be there too, but yeah, you could go there and get to see some people too, other orgs. Yes?
Yeah, is this presentation available to us?
I can give it to you, yeah, I can give you a copy, no problem.
So
The-
if anybody wants it, let me
Yeah.
know, and I'll forward it to you.
The government entities that do permitting and that are encroaching and so on, what are the government entities that do that? City, county, state?
It's not really the government entities that are doing it, they're approving it. So if,
Well, who's the approving?
so the approving bodies for anything
I
that
mean,
is,
they're the ones that give the permit,
they
right?
give the permit, yeah, so that's.
Well, who are those people?
So that's the Army Corps of Engineers. And that's who, we have one in
Yeah, but
every region.
The Army Corps doesn't do the development.
No, but anyone that does the development, so
So-
it could be any developer. It
So
could be the Port of
developer goes
Houston.
to the Army Corps, and then the Army Corps is what makes a decision.
Yes,
What
yes.
input does the public have in that?
Yes, so that's where we.
Nothing?
No, yeah, so that's where, so they post it, they have to post it, and when they post it, you're allowed to, or organizations and people, like any person, is allowed to submit basically a letter saying why you don't agree, and you can cite your facts, and if you have maybe. So for us, it's easier because we are able to identify some of the different ways in which maybe it does qualify as a wetland. A lot of times there is no mitigation plan, and they say that they are not impacting any wetlands, but if you look at, you'll look at the site area and you'll see, oh no, they're actually dumping a bunch of stuff in this area it is a wetland, and so even though they're not, it's a lot of indirect destruction, so it's easier when you have a way to prove it. So that's kind of what our mapper is serving to function as, and our goal is to kind of train people to use the mapper to submit their own letters, so that the public could submit letters as well for any public notices that come up in their area.
So any pushback is really amorphous, and the developers are,
Well,
they're
then
not
they,
amorphous, they're,
once the complaint is launched, they have to, the Army Corps has to launch an investigation, but if not, then they don't have to.
and
So,
that Supreme Court decision, who were the litigants?
who,
You mentioned that there was a definition, a legal definition of wetland. Now, there was that.
this happened,
before the Supreme Court. Was
this,
that state
Federal, it was the federal Supreme Court.
Who are there's two parties to that, one that defends and one that wants a change. Who are the parties?
I just know that it was under the Trump administration the first time he ran, because that was like one of the last things that they did before they left office. It's just very pro-development. It just makes it a lot easier for people to develop. That's it. It helps if you want it to develop, if you're a company or an entity that's trying to develop more land. Oh, it's okay.
Hi, question over here. Does defense of the wetlands area involve suppression of mosquitoes in the surrounding areas, something like that, to make it more palatable to the public?
So that is kind of a common misconception with wetlands, is that they have lots of mosquitoes and things like that. So if a wetland is functioning properly, it shouldn't have lots of mosquitoes, because there shouldn't actually be a lot of standing water. Water should be flowing. Standing water is not good in a wetland. It should be moving from one place to another. And if it's not, normally that, a lot of times, like if you're seeing that issue come up like in an area, it's because of human intervention and there's something that's been blocked or stopped. And so now we've created a standing pool, and that's not good. So if you go to Jesse Jones, that's a really good example. They have a lot of wetlands that are, they have a lot of damselflies. So there's a lot of organisms that will eat mosquitoes and mosquito larvae, and if it's functioning properly, it will work without having lots of them. And yeah, it can work if it's preserved in the right way and hydrologically considered. The flow of water has to be considered.
Is there any way that the Bayou City Waterkeeper organization advocates for considerate, sustainable economic development? Any work in that area?
Yes, so for green stormwater infrastructure, that's kind of where I would say that would fall under that category. So you could have small, medium, and large scale. So large scale would be awesome. That would be a giant, 100-acre preserved of wetlands functioning as a source of flood mitigation for maybe, somewhere that's more urban, right? And so that would be the great, but then you could also have something like as simple as permeable pavements, which would be literally it's concrete with more holes. So you would have grass in between the concrete. That's it. Or there's tiny things just to make it to where you're not having an impervious surface. Or instead of building a detention pond that is just grass, like Bermuda grass, you would put native wetland plants in it that are actually functioning to filter the water, and it's actually serving a purpose as a wetland instead of as just a kind of random pond that is oftentimes pretty mosquito filled and with very little biodiversity. But yeah.
What would you say is the majority of the work the Bayou City Waterkeeper does? Is it a lot of pushing back against permitting or legislation, or is it education, or is it direct work with help with preserving the wetland?
I would say a lot with legislation, just because we do have a legal team, which makes it a little bit easier for us to kind of to work with them. We're able to collaborate, and it's more effective. And then we've kind of grown a lot in the past year, so a lot more outreach and education has happened, which is what we've kind of been pushing for, to get people to kind of get more involved in the process, and get the public more involved in the process, more aware of what's happening and the rules and regulations that are kind of being implemented in our watershed. But as for direct preservation of wetland areas, no. We don't do we don't have plants and things like that. There's a lot of organizations and conservancies that do though, and they're really great. So a conservancy would be a private slash maybe they have some government funding, but like acquisition of land. And in Texas, that is another big way, especially in these northern regions, that you'll see people preserving land. So like Bayou Land Conservancy does a lot of work in the woodlands. They have a lot of large acres of property that they have preserved by purchasing. So yeah, it's like land acquisitions and easements and things like that. But we're focused less on, we don't do that, we don't manage easements or acquire land. Our big thing is more legal work. Mhm.
So our legislature is, of course, starting to meet again, started meeting again, and water is a big issue for them. I mean, especially, going projected growth within Texas is quite distinct, and they are worried about sustainability and water supply for that. Are you guys involved in that
We
at all?
don't do a lot of supply of water as much, or drinking water. Not really, not either of those.
Okay.
But there is a lot of money coming in for GSI projects, and they are kind of changing their ranking system for how they're determining if they should do a project or not. And sometimes, and they're talking about kind of making it to where the criteria includes some nature-based solutions. So if you have, if you check some of the boxes that would be like nature-based solutions, then you're more likely to get the funding. So I think it's going to be something that we're going to see a lot more of in the coming years. I think the reason that we haven't seen as much is just because Houston developed really fast, and they put a lot of concrete in at one time, and that it's hard to take it out once it's in. But anything new that's coming, I think they're going to be making these considerations, especially for downstream areas and like city areas, because it's also like a beautification factor too, right? And like quality of living and things like that. No one wants to live like all concrete, so yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for your questions.
Thank you so much.
Give
for
Alenka a round of applause.
Thank you.
Okay, y'all have already heard most of my announcements, but I'll just repeat a few of them. We have an annual survey up. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. It's very important. It's how we actually plan some programming and stuff like that. And it's a good way to give us, your thoughts on things. Remember, we have BOIL potluck right after this. Stick around. We're just going to move the chairs and bring out the tables. So if y'all could help with that. And then Oasis is a donor-funded organization, so there are ways to give on the back of our bulletins and on the flyer in the back. We pay for the rooms, we pay for childcare, actually, if you need to stow your kids over there, and other things. So if you can give, we appreciate it. If you can't, that's fine. Just showing up is why we're here, basically, as a community. So, yeah, thank you so much. We're going to hear one last song from Joe. He's going to play us out before our potluck.
Tune this real quick. Once again, it's always great to be at Oasis. I think it's aptly named. It just kind of feels like an island of sanity.
Woo!
So, especially, increasingly so. And just lean on your friends and the culture that helps you get through the day, And so organizations like this, I think, are really important. So thank you for all that you're doing and for having me today. Welcome back, my friend. Been a long, long time. You were patiently waiting on the line. When I let you go, faded force my hand. Then I felt so low. Then I had nowhere to go but up, and now it's clear without you. The world is colorless, it's true, but those days are gone. So I wrote this song. People think we're strange. They don't understand. And minds won't change. Just as long as you're considered contraband indeed. Without you, the world is colorless, it's true, but those days are gone. So I wrote this song. But those days are gone. So I wrote this song. And it won't be long till the world begins to see that they've been wrong.
Thanks so much, Joe. Melts those clouds away, right? If you're not staying with us, have a great week. Otherwise, let's start putting the chairs up, stack them max 5 to a stack, and then we'll roll some tables out. Thank you, everybody.